Rumi said that, our lives is a drop of water in the infinite ocean. And if you look at the timeline, it really is. And so we don't have all this time to keep playing catch up. We have to activate now.
What factor would you say most people are missing when it comes to taking control of their health?
Well, I would say first and foremost, before we get into any specific modality or action step, it's, releasing the contraction of fear. I think fear is the main disabling factor that keeps people from being able to activate their God-given potential in this life. And that spans across every facet of human activity and human emotional response. And so we're so locked up in the problem. We're so locked up in the trauma. We're so locked up in so many different isms that we can't set ourselves free to actually take the initiative and practice discernment and make a choice that's going to impact our life in a positive way. And the system has put us in this position, and the scarcity mentality and the poverty conscious keeps us limited in our ability to expand our health. And you can't have one without the other. And Dr. Rudolf Steiner said, all disease begins in the mind. And it's a very, very fascinating perspective. And I've dropped so deep on that over the years, and in meditation and ceremony with very influential people. And we really sat and opened that up and unlocked what that means. Ultimately, we create our own suffering by the decisions we make every day. And so for me, I'm always talking about finding momentum. And momentum can take you into any direction. It could take you down one side of health, and it could take you on the other side of health. So how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think we tend to think about the destination and just want that destination. And that's part of the human evolution or de-evolution where we're at right now. You can see that with instant gratification and just wanting to take the pill to succeed, where the effort and the attrition developed by everyday practice and discipline is what actually builds the strength, which actually builds the immune system, which actually builds the resiliency and the resolve. And that right there is the ultimate level of success in all facets of life, in my opinion. And that's defined by hormesis, that which does not kill you makes you stronger. And knowing that you're walking that tightrope and you're doing it yourself. Nobody's coming to save you, and that right there, that sovereignty is electrifying to our soul. It's electrifying to our carbon-based body. It's electrifying to our purpose. And I think right there, that's the cornerstone of good health. And instead of having to take on all these modalities and all these different things, which are fantastic, I'm a big part of it, but I'm not a biohacker. I don't believe that we're hacking the system. This is a beautiful body with a beautiful connection with the soul. And so, looking at it more like what is in my influence, what is in my sphere that is actually interrupting the balance of my life. And so that really is the main detox before we go into like interstitial cellular cleansing and, rebuilding and rejuvenating. We got to really look and see what are we doing in our lives right now? Who's around us? What is the thought process? Where are we calibrating? Where's the frequency? And I mean that like on a strategic level. I don't mean that in a, foo-foo, ridiculous spiritual sense. I mean it in a sound disciplinary spiritual sense, and getting straight with yourself, because everyone's kind of lying to themselves a little bit. We all have that. It's just part of human nature, but some take it over the top.
I like where you went with that. And there's a lot of different directions we could take it.
Sure.
In a practical sense, how does somebody begin to unravel that, understand where they need to begin, and then start to get inertia and begin to do the work?
Yeah, the ancients, they were very, very big on ritual, and I find balance in it because I think being a free spirit and, surrendering to what's happening around us and and not having to be so linear on things is really important. But I also know that ritualistic methods, they bring a level of awareness and discipline to the mind and body that you can make really, really clear decisions in your life. And so if your life is unorganized and it's helter skelter and you're just kind of all over the place, you're organized in your home, you're disorganized in your home, you're disorganized in your friendships and your relationships. Now we have all these, new technologies, and within those technologies have a lot of data is in there. If you're not organized in those data, if your bookshelf's unorganized, your closet's unorganized, all these things add up and they create clutter. And clutter is dangerous. Clutter causes massive, massive turmoil and destruction to one's focus and one's ability to create momentum in their life because they're just all over the place. So I always say begin with the ritual, and that starts with how you go to sleep and how you're rising every single day. Those are fundamentals that you cannot mess up on. You don't have the leeway to mess up on those two things because those are the originators from the root system of your health and the root system of your everyday waking life and sleeping life, which we can't ignore the importance of the dream state and the phases of sleep. Those things are very, very critical. It's part of this dimension. It's part of this life. It's not just some aberration of thought while you're just laying down. It's real stuff. So let's get a little bit more granular on that. So for me, I feel like we've forgotten what we've forgotten as a species. We've lost our way. There are many conversations happening about rewilding the human and getting to the fundamentals. You don't have to go live naked in the forest chasing bears for months. What you can start doing is making sure that you're connected to nature on a deep level and you're following the guide systems that we now know on a scientific level that our body needs to adapt to, which is, after a certain time at night, you're not getting hit with artificial light. You're not getting hit with artificial noise. You're not getting hit with, toxic foods. You're not being around toxic people, and you're going into a sound, relaxing, meditative state. And at that point, your body, because the sun's declination is gone, it's become dark, and your body is now going into its resting phase. And because you get up at 4:30 every day with the sun, naked on the earth, grounded, getting activated by all that radiation from the sun, turning on every immunological system to manufacturing hormones, manufacturing melatonin, all of these things, your body is prepared to go to sleep. These things right here are so fundamental to our everyday life and our ability to grow in our dharma work in this life. Because if you're missing that, you're missing the whole boat, and then you're just playing catch up. And it's what portion of the population is doing that on a fundamental daily basis. And it just goes to show you why we're in a disaster zone when it comes to our medical system, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to the disease rate that we're at right now, and all the inner fightings. And we're all scrambling, fighting each other to get to, for what? For more trash in the ocean? I mean, we're just kind of lost what the purpose is. And so I think purpose, intention, they're all part of this health. So this is the ultimate health podcast, right? So let's get to the root of it. The ultimate health begins with living with intention and living with purpose. All the other things, all the ideas, the concepts, understanding how the human body works, understanding detoxification, understanding, what time should we be eating, what foods we should be eating, where we should be sourcing our foods, what supplementations, what exercises, all that is under the umbrella of knowledge and intention, right? Those are that's the driving cause. And there's so many avenues to go. I like to simplify things. I think simplicity brings a level of cadence where you're not having to check every digital watch and seeing what numbers are popping up here. I think we've turned that tech revolution into the health world, and it's doing a complete disservice. Are there certain technologies that are giving us data points that are really important to look at? Sure. But we can't get too caught up in that left brain analysis. We have to get back to the fundamentals. What kind of water are you drinking? How are you hydrating every single day? I was at the Cymbiotika campus yesterday. We launched a new hydration formula. I spoke for like an hour straight on hydration, and I was just going deep on the hydration statistics. Every symptom that you can think of, from headaches to dry skin to red eyes to irritable bowel syndrome to constipation, all of that is directly related to dehydration. uh, you know, Eating disorders, it's like, you're not hungry, man, you're thirsty, right? And it's like, these are fundamentals and we take it for granted. Most people are not drinking the right water. They're bathing in the wrong water. They don't have the concepts of what water truly is. And I'm not talking about going into deep esoteric levels of water. I'm just talking about fundamental basics of what water is in the human body and how to properly hydrate, how to properly use electrolytes and salts and minerals and things of that nature. So there's so many ways to approach health. But I think we need to have our basics in place: how we're sleeping every night, how we're getting up on the rise, how we're grounding to the earth, how we're getting under the sun, full bodies, getting naked sun exposure, for at least 20, 30 minutes, infrared sauna, cold plunge, what minerals are we drinking on the rise to rehydrate and electrolyze the body, making sure that our body's digestive system is eliminating properly, that we have the right, biotics in our gut, and that we're balancing the nutrient payload in our body to the proper form. And then just also, how we're approaching our breath, like everyone's talking about the vagus nerve and all these different things. They all are true to our evolutionary cause of being human. We have to be in our body and present. And there's so many distractions out there today that are just sucking you out of your now. And that is a very dangerous thing for a human being, because instead of being, we're doing, right? And we're observing 10,000 timelines in a span of 2 hours. And that's taking the body and the mind somewhere else. And when you're somewhere else, you're losing yourself. You're not present. You're escaping. And that becomes a habit. And I feel that escapism behavior is leading to massive destruction. And it's starting at an early age with children. Children are not developing the faculties of being present. And when you're not present at 3, 4, 5, when you're still in the theta wave brain set as a child is, where everything's an imagination and you're learning everything around you, you are undeveloping muscles in your mind and muscles in your body, the constitutional faculties of love, of empathy, of compassion, of self-love, right? And it's becoming more of a glory satisfaction, instant gratification, and just, being sucked into another reality, and then feeling left out, and then feeling inferior. And then that brings on a whole nother cycle. And it's just, it's hectic, So I can go on and on. I had Dr. Zach Bush over here for dinner last night, and we just like, imploded into this whole concept of how we got to this position right now with our agricultural systems. What's going on with our topsoil. I've been talking about this for 15 years. My cousin and I, we have a biodynamic farm in the Hawaiian Islands, and I've been around root science, soil science, regenerative agriculture, biodynamic farming, Steiner influence modeling with how you grow your food. And to finish this up, biodynamic farming, what the intention was not to create the most mineralized, nutrient dense food. The intention was to connect the steward of this world, which we've taken on, by ourselves. We didn't ask anyone. We just said, we're the stewards. It's to connect the steward to the soil, and to connect the steward to the cosmology above us and the connection grid. And that stewardness brings on a level of connection, and it builds a level of heart and love and empathy, especially beginning at an early age. And that right there was Rudolf Steiner's cosmogenesis of biodynamic farming. And then from there, it branched into Waldorf education, where you're not filling a child's head with a curriculum. You're actually just creating an incubator for them to expand on their own development and allow their artistic side and their scientific side to merge in a very cohesive way. And so and when you're doing things with that intention, the side effect or the product of that is you're going to get the best food on earth, right? And it's the same thing with anything else. Like I'm sure you love what you do, and because you're in this field and you're meeting amazing people and they're meeting you and the connections are rolling, you're getting momentum in your life, you're getting satisfaction in your life. You feel good because you're teaching people and giving them an opportunity to learn. And the side effect of that is love, empathy, connection, and abundance in many ways, right? So abundance covers all that. It's the same thing with someone who, all they care about is their aesthetics, right? They just want to look good because it's the material mechanistic way right now. At some point, most people that are just chasing their aesthetics are going to run into a roadblock and they get sick. They have problems. It happens all the time. I see it all the time. They come to me all the time to repair their entire system. If you're living good, you're living healthy, your intention is longevity, your intention is to feel good every day so you can hit maximum potential. The side effect of that is great aesthetics, right? It's like, where are we prioritizing ourselves, and where are we choosing self-love, or are we just choosing what the mass general public, which is kind of an illusion, what we think they want? And it's the Maya, it's the illusion of the 21st century for sure. And we're definitely in it.
For somebody who is hearing what you're saying and it's resonating, but they're feeling stuck, they've made a lot of conventional decisions and they're working a job, have a family, and they're tired and they're working hard and they're like, okay, this all sounds good, but where do I even begin? What would you say to that person to start getting that inertia? And then hopefully they can come back and check into what we're talking about today again and again and pull a piece each time and keep building on it, because people like you and me have been in this world a long time and doing this for a long time. And when people hear us speak about all these different things that we can do to upgrade our health and wellness, it can be overwhelming. So basically what I'm getting at here is, how do we give people that inertia to remove the veil and to begin this journey?
That's the $1 trillion question. Well, they should probably immediately move to the jungles and do ayahuasca for 6 months straight. No, I'm just kidding. So, I think I preluded to it a tad. Instead of trying to bring on other things, it's addition by subtraction first and foremost. So sit down, have the discipline, and evaluate your life. Look at the last 10 years of your life. Look at the last 5 years of your life. Look at the last 12 months. Look at the last 6 months. Look at the last 90 days. Look at the last 30 days. Look at the last week. Look at the last 24 hours. And just take notes on your life. Where have you had big wins? Where have you suffered big losses? What patterns are you seeing in yourself every single day? How do you cope with stress? Do you avoid confrontation? Do you avoid confrontation with self? What things in your life are creating happiness for you, and why? Are they working out? Is it just a short-term thing? We got to evaluate the foods we're eating. We got to evaluate our friends. We got to evaluate our relationship with our family. We got to start doing these things. The line of work that you're in. Are you resenting the position you're in today? What brought you into that position? We got to get real. We can't. This like victim mentality has got to go. Not all of us. A lot of us have been through hell and back. I know I have. I just went through the transition of my father, who was my best friend, who was my life. He was my everything. I had a whole vision of our, happiness together on our farms forever. And all of a sudden my whole life changed. And I went through the craziest, most stressful time while I'm growing this movement, and I could have easily turned it all off and just shut down, and kind of just went on my own way and lost myself very easily. But I realized that this was part of my karma and this was part of my destiny. And I had to walk through it. And that was the medicine that drove me to put me where I am today. And everyone needs to have that evaluation in their life. So you don't need someone to come save you. You just need to clean up your life a little bit. From that point on, then we start fundamentally looking at how we're approaching our health and our mental health. What practices are we taking every day to better our lives? Are we listening to podcasts that help us, or are we watching Netflix every night? Are we eating foods that support balance and energy and, align our entire meridian system? Or are we eating things that detonate the body's ability to connect and speak to itself? Are we numbing out pain in our body or trying to figure out the root cause, right? So is it a symptomology type lifestyle where whenever there's some kind of pain, it's taking an Advil or a Tylenol or drinking 2 glasses of wine? Or are we trying to listen to the body and figure out what message it's telling us and get to the root cause? Are we stuck in the allopathic Western medicine model for the last 10 years? Or are we looking at things outside in terms of Ayurveda, energy healing, acupuncture, movement, whatever it is, functional medicine, all that kind of stuff? Is our thyroid even working? Is our liver even working? Most of the population has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. If that happens, then you're probably getting angry all the time, and your body's ability to manufacture hormones has been thrown out the window. So you're topsy-turvy all the time. Are you eating organic foods? Are you constantly just flooding your system with herbicide, fungicide, larvicides, insecticides, glyphosate, whatever, and deteriorating your own ability to connect? So there are basics there that we just have to get truthful. I think we get so ahead of ourselves with something else when the fundamentals are right in front of us. Do you have the patience to take your life seriously and learn about these things? Do you educate yourself? Are you creating momentum with education and knowledge, or do you truly not care? And since the whole pandemic stuff, I've really come to the conclusion that someone's decision on their life, that's their decision. I'm not here to force anyone to think a certain way. I'm not here to tell them what they're doing is wrong. I'm not here. I'm done with that. I've given so much energy trying to shake people's tree my entire life. That's gone. All I'm doing is I'm living in my embodiment. That's why I show a lot of my life. That's why I bring a lot of people around me. That's why I have a lot of, professional world number 1 athletes that I'm head of their nutrition, and I coach them and I do all these things, is because I'm just embodying it. And if someone likes it and it makes sense, they need to research more. And I always tell people, you can't just take people's words and try to apply it. It does not work that way. You have to feel into it, every cell. You have to practice discernment. We don't even know what the word discernment means anymore. Discernment means you're basing your postulation on your research and analysis of the subject. You're not doing it because you're in fear and you're going to take on anything. That's a political weapon. Problem, reaction, solution, right? They create a problem. There's a reaction in the public. They provide the solution of the problem they created. Well, we're doing that every day when we're on our social media and someone's telling you, this is how you lose weight. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is bullshit. This is this, da, da, da. It's like, no. If someone's giving you some information, take it at face value, and then you go do the work. And you try to use the scientific method, actually, real science, not fake scientism nonsense that's being paid by trillion-dollar industries. I'm talking about real science and experiential knowledge. And you got to take that ownership. And so whoever's listening to this is like, I don't even know where to begin. I always say, go back to the fundamentals. What water are you drinking? What water are you bathing in? What foods are you eating every single day? How's the timing of your food? Are you eating all over the place, or do you have kind of a schedule on your food? Is your body moving? If you're sedentary lifestyle, I don't care what nutrition you put on your body, you're getting stagnant. The electricity of your body's not flowing. You're going to lead directly to disease. Are you sleeping properly? Are you making love properly? Are you truthful to your friends? Are you truthful to yourself? These are the fundamentals. And then from there, we can start going into like the next level, because there's levels to this. Well, everyone wants to jump from here to there, and that's why they always fail and they go back to their old patterns, because it's hard, and it's supposed to be hard. We're adaptable human beings. We're supposed to not be sitting on a couch in a fake artificial box that is temperature controlled, and DoorDash is coming to bring us some pile of shit. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's a problem. That is a problem to humanity. We're supposed to be out in the jungles, in the forest, in the desert, building fires, searching for food, doing all that kind of stuff. Now, that's not so practical. So if we're not doing those things, we've got to do other things that bring us closer to that. And so that's like finding the activities, finding camaraderie with your network, doing the things that push you a little bit, get a little bit uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is where the medicine's at on so many levels. And I know that might be cliche, but it truly is. It's where you find that resolve. And momentum, I can't overstress momentum. Once you do one thing and you feel good about it, then you do the next thing. And then you do the next thing. And all of a sudden, you're building some serious momentum. And if going out with your buddies and getting hammered, in the middle of that momentum is going to set you back a week, don't do it. You've already learned that. You've already learned that that's very detrimental. And we think our lives are this like long drawn out thing. No, it's not. Life is quick. What does Rumi say? Rumi said that, our lives is a drop of water in the infinite ocean. And if you look at the timeline, it really is. And so we don't have all this time to keep playing catch up. We have to activate now. And there's never been a time like today, because we're in an interesting situation with our world right now. Our medical system's failing. Our economy is failing. We have so many systems that need to be not fixed, but dismantled and rebuilt. And the only way we're going to do that is with a healthy population. We need people that are standing in their power, standing in their truth, and really understand how these things work. And I think understanding how the body works. Sometimes I'm in public and I go, do you know what the liver does? And like, nobody knows. Nobody has any clue. And that's a problem. Fundamentally, that is an issue. It's not so much to understand why, molecular hydrogen is good for you. It's important to understand why molecular hydrogen is good for you. It's not fuck cancer. It's fuck what causes cancer. You get what I'm saying? That right there, that is the seed for us to take ownership and do this right. Because the information's out there. There's a million of me out there talking about, cold submersion, drink spring water, eat a nutrient-dense food, a microbiota diet, drink bitter teas, cleanse the body, take activated charcoal, use niacin once or twice a day, flush in the infrared sauna, do a high-intensity interval training, don't put your body through too much stress, take the right antioxidants at the right time, eat essential fatty acids, essential amino acids. There's so many, we can go down all of it, from methylation to, NAD boosters. I mean, there's so many avenues, but all that means nothing if the user or consumer or the client has no idea what any of that stuff does. We know the placebo effect. Just let's talk about placebo. Placebo, we know, actually works. You give someone a drug and you give someone a sugar pill, for the first week, they're pretty much almost the same in terms of what the drug's doing, because the user thinks that's what it is. So imagine we know what it is and it's actually real and it's actually good for you. Compare that to the person that has no idea what they're even doing. They're just doing it because someone tells them to do it. That's the problem. They want to take the ownership off themselves and put it on somebody else. We love that, and that's creating problems. That's creating disease. That's creating obesity. That's creating metabolic diseases. That's creating all kinds of insulin problems. Which I think is another fundamental problem that we're having, is the metabolic system is just completely wearing out and breaking down. We have an oral health pandemic, if you will. I'm really big on root cause. I don't know if you followed me from 2 years ago, but I went and had 4 cavitation surgeries from the wisdom teeth that I pulled out. I had rotting cavitations, which anyone who had their wisdom teeth yanked has cavitations in there. I documented the whole thing with one of the top biodentists in the world. We got, heavy metal toxicity, like going berserk right now. Anyone that has metal in their mouth, it's insane. I mean, that's just causing so much problems. We're bathing in non-native electromagnetic frequencies all day long. So we're sitting in Wi-Fi. We got all the other stuff that's coming along with that. We gotta wake up a little bit,
So you highlighted the fact that we need to understand these tools, these bodies of ours. So I don't want to dismiss that, but given that, let's get into some of the specifics of the fundamentals. Getting into the hydration piece first. This is something that's come up a couple times. You mentioned giving a talk at Cymbiotika about this. Where do people begin when it comes to hydrating their body?
Well, hydration right now is fascinating because we've never been, I don't know, we've never been in a position where we're drinking so many things that are not water, right? So, from sodas to coffee to tea to alcohol. I mean, it's insane. And what do all those things do? They all dehydrate you, right? So they're diuretics. They're pushing the body's hydration out of the body. And with that goes minerals. And at the fundamental root health is mineralization. Nothing comes before that. And in terms of, pharmacokinetics or nutrients, it's mineralization. We are basically, our design is built on minerals. Our bodies are animated compounds of the earth's, elements, right? It's fascinating. Actually, very similar with the ocean water, with all 92 elements on the periodic table. Very fascinating. And each mineral has a coding system, has a subatomic charge. There's a reason why copper, helps you methylate, and copper kills parasites in the body. There's a reason why silver, kills viruses in the body. There's a reason why gold in the body potentiates, spinal fluid and expansion in your brain and thought system. There's a reason why magnesium is involved in thousands of different chemical transcriptions throughout the body. All of these things are perfect. It's like, wow, this is how insanely beautiful our reality is. There's nothing by chance. It's all like the perfect design. And so if we remove the design and we disable the design, we run into a lot of problems. And so we're missing the fundamentals of just how beautiful that is. Once you get the beauty of it, then you want to learn more about it. It's like, I remember cramming for tests in 10th grade. I wanted to know nothing about it, but I would study the night before and I'd ace the test. 3 days later, you ask me the same questions. I have no idea what you're even talking about, right? And that's kind of where we're at with our health and our social climate. It's like, well, just teach me right now. So again, I always go back to this root, is that we have to fundamentally have a desire to want to understand how that body works. And so once you have that, then you're fall in love with, how magnesium helps you and how hydration is the most critical aspect of health, and how most people that are having fevers and having diarrhea and throwing up and having all these, sicknesses, which is very common today, dehydrates you. And you remove all the electrolytes in the body. And without the electrolytes, your body cannot properly communicate with itself, and your system becomes fragmented. And that becomes even more so of a problem. And you keep doing this 2, 3 times a year. By the time you're 30, 35, 40, your cellular degeneration is at a high level. We think that it's common to just get sick and to get the sniffles and to get a sore throat. This isn't normal. We're not supposed to be going down for weeks 3, 4 times a year. That adds up in a span of 20 years. All of a sudden, 6 months, 9 months of your life, you've been sick and you're playing catch up all the time. And this is different than allowing your body to be exposed to things to build resiliency. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this patterns, constant patterns that take you back and set you back. And so when it comes to hydration, my whole thing is we have to be careful with what we're putting in our body, and we have to calibrate what we're putting in our body in terms of fluids. And having the proper salts in your life, having the proper minerals is so critical for not only your immune system, but for every function in the body. And I've been an avid spring water hunter my whole life. I've traveled everywhere in the world searching for spring water and getting very connected to what spring water represents in this dimension or this earth or whatever. And also how spring water shows us kind of similar aspects of ourselves. Spring water is alive. It's vortex. It's coming from, a place of darkness and moving. And that's alive, structured water. Dr. Gerald Pollack talks about the fourth phase of water. And we now know that water in our body, in our cells, is operating interstitially with an electric field. And that's how our bodies cleanse. That's how our bodies stay supple. If you're dehydrated, your skin's wearing out. You're exposed to allergies at a much higher level, and it makes total sense. Water is the currency of the body, and if we're missing that, forget about anything else. That's a root cause. And so I could speak hours on end on just how impactful having the right hydration and taking your hydration properly. I'm not just talking about world-class athletes that are exerting themselves at a massive, massive load. I'm talking about anyone. We have to be hydrated. If you're drinking 2, 3 cups of coffee a day, no matter what, you're going to be severely dehydrated. And that's another reason why I really advise people taking something like shilajit, which is the cornerstone of Ayurveda, which is a mineral pitch resin that's got 84 trace minerals in its phytonutrient state. I always advise you need to get the minerals in with the coffee. I'm not just so against coffee. I'm just saying you got to have an intention with coffee. If you're just drinking coffee as a stimulant, just like as a drug, you're not in the right intention with it, and it's going to drain your life force. It's going to acidify your body too much, and it's going to pull out minerals such as magnesium. And so shilajit helps balance that crazy burnout that coffee provides. So there's ways of handling this. It's just, again, comes back to the fundamentals of understanding how our bodies work.
You mentioned spring water there, and for people, if that's something, it might not be for them at this time, let's talk about what you do when you don't have spring water. Do you have a filtration system within the house as kind of a backup when you run out of spring water? Or are you just at the point now where you have enough supply and you don't get to that point?
I try not to get to that point, but you always have to, prepare. Failing the plan is planning to fail, right? And so I've been drinking spring water my whole life. I don't drink filtered water. I do have a filtration system for my bathing situation, which is just as important because, we take for granted if you're bathing in municipal tap water, you're getting exposed to a payload of massive, massive carcinogenic compounds. I mean, it is unbelievable what is in the water supply. And I'm not just talking about fluoride and chlorine and chloramides. I'm talking about other things as well. Heavy metals, pesticides, where they're now finding pharmaceutical drugs in the water supply. I mean, birth control makes total sense, Birth control is being flushed down the toilets all the time, getting recaptured in gray water systems. and the filtration that they're using does not pick that up. So we're sitting there bathing in this water, right? And this water, not only is it getting absorbed through our skin, but we're breathing it in through the vapors. And when they react to an organic compound, it creates a trihalomethane, which is a very, very super toxic material. And that ends up in the brain, that ends up in the bones, that ends up in the DNA. There's no wonder people are depressed, people are frustrated, people have a regular heartbeat, people, they're deteriorating as we're just bathing in toxic water. So make sure you have a filtration device at your house. If you can't get a filtration device, at least get a filter and put it on your shower head. Just do that at the very least. I do have some water filtration for drinking. I have a 12-stage system that I kind of put together. I've been working on it for a while, and I always add things to it. But yes, if you're listening to this, if you can't get spring water, look for a heavy-duty filtration device that uses reverse osmosis, charcoal filter, UV, and if you can get some kind of vortex technology on there, that'd be even better. It's fun. It's exciting. It's something to do. Don't just drink Brita filtered water. No offense to Brita. That's not going to cut it.
You mentioned fun, and I think that's a big part of somebody getting interested in this and having the energy to do the learning day in, day out and do the work, because living this lifestyle in the conventional world, you are going uphill in a lot of ways each and every day, which takes energy, it takes time. And this comes back to what you talked about before, understanding the body. When you have an understanding of the body and how miraculous this thing is and works, plus you're going to want to take care of it, plus you make it fun. So I'm trying to hit on two different points there. Understanding the body, you're going to want to take the best care of it. Number two, making it fun. You're going to have that longevity and putting out the effort and making different decisions.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's like really what comes down to it is that's how we've kind of rearranged our lives, is that we've tried to figure out, what did we think was fun? What as a kid, and as I went into my adolescence, I was kind of tuning in, like, what was fun for me? Why was that fun? Where did that learned behavior come from? And over the years, through discipline and putting myself around the right people, I realized that things that are good for me can be fun. Learning can be fun. Aha moments with your loved ones, cracking codes about life and experiential knowledge. What's funner than that? And look, I want to be clear. I'm a normal guy too. Like, I love going out to a nice dinner. I love watching a nice documentary or a good film. It's finding balance in your life. We don't have to this isn't a militaristic type situation at all. We're just really excited about staying healthy. And I get asked all the time, Chervin, are you trying to live forever? And I say, no, I'm not. I'm trying to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can. I don't want to be a burden to society. I want to be hitting my max potential. I want to go to peak levels. I want to make this incarnation something worth remembering. And that is inspired by happiness and laughter and fun, which is one of the main medicines to life. And so my life's pretty crazy right now. I mean, I'm being pulled a million directions. I have a lot on my plate. There's a lot of people buzzing around me 24/7. I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't having fun. The fun is what keeps it in this this energy that can just flow, as opposed to like the demands of it, right? And also looking at the grand scheme of things, the things that I mentioned before regarding our systems falling apart and people suffering and all that stuff. Sometimes you just got to sit back and just like, okay, I'm not going to accept this, but I'm also going to accept this as part of the cosmic giggle, as part of the cosmic unfolding. And that removes some of the pressure. If we're always under pressure, we're going to snap. But if we can dissipate some of that pressure and bring some joy into our life and bring some happiness to our life, we're going to be able to make the right decisions that are going to work for us and create, pathways of least resistance. And it's like, it's the same thing. Dr. Wayne Dyer would always say, what you resist, you persist. What you persist, you resist, vice versa. And so I started reading the Tao, The Way by Lao Tzu. I'm not sure if you've read that. I've read it. I've gone through his entire translations, and there's so much beauty in the ancient mystic philosophies that apply to today's modern mechanistic world. And it's this like surrendering. And I've done a lot of work. I've died in the jungles thousands of times. I've sat with the Shipibo tribe and gone through fundamental breakdowns and egoic dissolving, and realizing that I'm just renting this body, and this name Chervin is just a name. I'm connected to something greater than this, and that took the burden off and allowed it to just flow. And so I'm in a flow state, and I think people can get there. You can just activate it through anything. I mean, it could be through transcendental meditation. It could be a workshop. It could be, psychedelic experience. Who knows? As long as it's done with intention.
We talked about a number of things there to keep the longevity going for people who want to live this lifestyle. And we talked about keeping it fun. We talked about understanding the body and then understanding the miracle of the body and then wanting to care for that. I'll also add another layer, which is community and surrounding yourself with the right people. Because if you have people in your world that see the world the same as you, and I think it's also helpful to have people that see the world differently and challenge our beliefs, because we don't want people just being yes people in our life and going along with what our current paradigm, but having that community that you can connect with and share with. And you mentioned Zach Bush coming to your house and diving deep and sharing, these deep thoughts that you might not be able to connect with other people in your life. So talk to that a bit, having people in your world, whether it be your partner or friends or family, that you can see the world in a similar way and fuel each other.
Yeah. Again, you're wording it really well. And there's a difference between being in alignment with your tribe versus having yes men around you, right? The alignment is we're operating with similar frequencies. We've done the work. And when I say we've done the work, we've figured out who we are. We're not codependent on someone. We're meeting people with our glasses full. We're also vulnerable when we need to be vulnerable. This is important. If someone needs something, they have to feel like they can go to their tribe and voice that, and not feel like they're putting themselves in a position of being beneath anyone. That is an illusion. And that is very common. How many people are in their ego and they are hiding all their demons, they're hiding all their pain. I mean, I have a little bit of that, and we all naturally have some of that. We don't want to be exposed, right? It's this concept, right? But working through that with loved ones and people that care about you for who you are versus what you can do for them is so critical. And I did a lecture on this about a year ago where we were looking at data points. It's almost just as important to feel unconditional love than it is to drink clean water in terms of health. Yeah, there's data points to that. It makes total sense, because if you're in fear and contraction and pain and you're self-loathing, and you have that fundamental scarcity mindset, you're going to be under a level of stress. And that means your body is pumping out cortisol, among other things. Cortisol inhibits cytokines. So your body fundamentally cannot repair damaged tissue and fight infections and fight pathogenic viruses and parasites and bacteria and all these foreign invaders and all these things because you're contracted. And that leads directly to the disease span and takes you out of the health span. A lot of the cancers today and the diseases and the autoimmune diseases, especially, which actually lead to more radical diseases, are at the root cause of stress, and it's pain and suffering. Because you're harboring all that stuff. It's not moving anywhere, right? And you're contracted, right? When we want to be expansive and open and free, and the channel's open, and that comes and helps a lot with having real solid connections with people. And I've gone through many different influences in terms of my tribe. It's evolved. We all have, right? Since we were 14, 15, friends have come and go, and I've created a nice circle. My circle's gotten smaller, but the vision's gotten larger, right? And I have amazing partners in my life. I have the feminine in my life. I have the masculine in my life. I have a very, very nice balance. And I'm able to show up for people. People are able to show up for me. And that leads us into a state of peace. And the more you have that energy of reciprocal, unconditional love that's not based on an egoic perspective of what can you do for me, you get more and more in a state of just pure ultimate bliss. And bliss, we know the actual internal technology is a neurotransmitter called anandamide. And so we have serotonin, we have dopamine. Anandamide is the bliss molecule. And when you're in a state of bliss, your immunological functions are operating at a crazy level. And so that's why some people, they burn out, they fizz out, they dry up, their body oxidizes. You can see it. I have friends that are my age that look 15 years older than me, 20 years older than me. It's not just genetics. It's real epigenetic laws, meaning epi, above the genetic genome, meaning your environmental factors has dictated where you are today. And that those environmental factors is exactly what we just talked about: family, friends, network, lifestyle, water, food, approach to life, meditation, breath work, all of these different things, and just your overall disposition on life. That at the cornerstone is what epigenetics is. There's a good book by a friend of ours, The Biology of Belief. That's a great book. And, what you're believing is your outcome. And so you don't have to fake it to make it. You can just really start putting together the rules of your own reality. And I know some of these ideas are abstract and they sound really good on paper. But there is a format to get these things rolling. How you do anything is how you do everything. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I do think that is a great challenge with a lot of the stuff we are talking about, because it's not formal, like you need to start taking this supplement at this dosage or eat this diet. It's more subjective and more nuanced, which I think can be harder for people to adopt into their healthy lifestyle, especially for any period of time, because those things just, I find even for me, those are often the first things to go by the wayside when things get busy. So how have you gone about making sure you have this stable structure when it comes to some of these more softer pillars that are less regiment and specific?
We're talking about fundamental root systems. I'm not giving you an instruction model that, 9 a.m. you take this, 10:30 you take this, 11 a.m. you repeat this meditation. You got to make your own. You got to do what fits your reality. What you and I have just gone back and forth on is just, I always, especially this is our first conversation, right? This first time you and I ever spoke. And so this first time your audience is probably hearing me. I'm sure there's some crossover. before I could get into technical stuff on why you should be taking methylated B compounds, why you should be taking a liposomal form of PQQ and glutathione, why you should be doing a submersion at least 8 minutes a day in 39 degree Fahrenheit water. And then from there, go and do a Qigong meditation for, 15 minutes at this time when the sun lines up here. We can do all that stuff, which is great. But to put all this into play and to get it on a macular perspective, we got to get those fundamental concepts built in, driven into the DNA. So if you're listening to this right now, maybe you need to listen to this 5 times in a row. And then you need to have this conversation. You take notes, you have this conversation with your best friend. And let your best friend bounce these concepts, have them listen to this, and then you guys meet together and sit down and fundamentally talk about it and start thinking about your life. This is the only way it's going to work. You have to practice it. Practice is what leads to perfection. There's no other way. You can't just listen to this once and then send me a message on Instagram and say, oh my God, I love the podcast. Thank you. What products should I take? Okay, that seems to be like, that happens all the time. No, you need to listen to this and you need to find a partner or do it yourself and take notes and start applying these fundamental ways of thinking to your everyday life. You need to have that initiative. If you don't have that initiative, this is all just lip service and it sounds good. You're going to feel good for 24 hours, 36 hours, and then boom, the next thing in your life is going to pop up because we are living in a stressful world. There's all kinds of stuff going on. The next holiday's coming up. Someone's birthday's coming up. You have vacation here. You got a deadline here. And then boom, this is all eradicated from your mind. That's the problem. That's the problem with our lifestyles. That's the problem with our health. And that's the problem with momentum. Unless you take it seriously and design a system where you're going to be at least giving yourself half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour every day to work on these things. There's no other way because we are human beings. We have to have a system in place if we're going to get out of the rut that we're in. Like if you have an autoimmune condition or you're dealing with Lyme's disease or you have co-infections or you have whatever, in order to solve that, you every day have to take practice and apply it. And you have to look at your previous day and say, where am I feeling that today? What's working for me? And you got to understand why it's working for you. Why are you using these electrical devices? Why are you using this herbal complex plan? Why are you using this, type of IVs? Well, these things have to fundamentally have current to it to create currency. And you have to have an organized system to do it, or you just keep going back to your helter-skelter life. It's plain and simple. I'm not trying to be harsh. But that is it. That's the cornucopia. That's the nirvana. Is without practice and discipline to take these concepts and apply it to your everyday life, you're just on a hamster wheel doing the same shit over and over.
And you're touching on something there I want to make sure we expand upon. And it's something I talk about quite often. The fact that where I think podcasts like this can be really powerful is to give people ideas of things they might want to try on for themselves and apply into their lifestyle, plus the inspiration. So at the end of our 90 minutes or whatever it ends up being, hopefully you'll be inspired by hearing us banter back and forth. And what I really encourage people to do when they have that inspiration, maybe it'll only last 24 hours or likely even less, is to take action on 1 or 2 things that are small and get that inertia going, because it's so important. You mentioned birthday parties and different things. Like, it's so easy to not take advantage of this catalyst, this time where you have a finite amount of time after taking this in to get the ball rolling.
That's right. That's exactly it. We're in an illusion that this system keeps going on forever and forever. That's just not the case. The construct of the Gregorian calendar, this January to December, all the months and the weeks and the holidays and all that stuff has imprisoned our mind into this fabricated illusionary world, especially with all the technology and movies and all this crap. That is the most detrimental thing. We can't think like, oh, I have next Thursday. Oh, I have the next month. All we have is this moment. That's it. That's the ultimate awareness, is the presence of now, right now. This is it. If you're thinking about any other time, you're missing your voltage of today. And this is beyond just procrastination, which we know is detrimental to everything in all walks of life or all areas of your life. This is the root of it. Everything is taking you out of your present. You're stuck on this Gregorian calendar schedule. You've been doing it since you were 2 years young. You're on this school system. You're on this holiday system. You're on this summer vacation system. You're doing Christmas. You're doing Halloween. You're doing whatever the hell it is. It's just like, and after 10, 15, 20 years of that, your brain is so stuck in that pattern that all you can think of is that pattern, and you're stuck in it. That's why everyone says, as you get older, time goes faster, right? Well, it's very easily to understand what that is. You're stuck in the systemic pattern, and that systemic pattern is taking you away from your breath. And that's why when you're in the jungles or you're living off in the islands, and you're not on your social media, you're not on anything, and you're just around your loved ones, and you're just putting your feet in the earth, and you're just planting cacao, and you're planting fruits, and you're in the elements. A 12-hour day is like an eternity. You get what I'm saying? When I get into the jungle, when I get into the islands, when I'm in the forest, when I'm in the desert, and I turn everything off, my God, everything slows down to a crawl. It just because you're there every breath, you're tuned in. And it's funny because most people, I won't say most people, a majority of people can't handle that. They can't sit still. They have to be doing something. That's the problem. That is the root of suffering. And that is the root of fleeting and escaping and not mastering anything. They want to learn, they want to know all this stuff, they want to know all these little things, but they're not applying it. There's I forgot the quote. It was, you could be a master at one thing and nothing at everything or whatever. And I forgot who made the quote about, there's too many dreamers, there's not enough doers. Everyone can be dreaming this lofty existence, but who the hell is actually doing it? You're not doing it by completely fleeting and escaping all the time. So again, yeah, I see it. I'm able to talk about these things because I'm a human being and I see it in my own reality. There's moments where, shit, I don't even want to do anything, or I can't sit still. I have to be learning something right now. Like I feel the pressure, or if I'm on a drive, I can't just sit on the drive and enjoy the drive and put some good music on. I got to knock out a bunch of calls, because I can't sit at my house and take phone calls. It drives me crazy. I'm not a good person on the phone. And so I see these things, and then I kind of reverse engineer, like, okay, where is this stemming from? Where is this stress coming from? Why am I feeling angst? All that stuff. And it helps me kind of walk through it. Every day is an opportunity to get better. Chop wood, carry water, you become enlightened. What do you do after that? Well, you chop wood and carry water. Right. And that's so pertinent and prudent to our reality right now. This is an ongoing situation. There's no hitting a certain level and then you've made it. The moment I think I know everything is the moment I'm falling apart and I'm dying. It's constant. And it's also finding balance in it all. There's moments where I just want to lay down and turn everything off. And there's moments that I want to do things. Our lives are cyclical. Our health is cyclical. There's a moment when the testosterone in our body is shooting out throughout the day, and there's a moment where it dips back down. It's the same thing with female hormones and all that kind of stuff. There is a pattern to this whole thing. There's a pattern. When we go to sleep at night, our body goes through a very intricate process of detoxification, from our lungs to our brain, the lymphatic system, the liver, the kidneys, all of that stuff. That's why when we rise the next day, we have film over our teeth. We have things in our eyes. We have a certain breath, all that kind of stuff. It's because the body has a system. And so we got to understand these systems, and we got to go try to flow. And we can't, sometimes we take things so serious and put so much pressure on ourselves. That's another thing. It's like, let's depressurize it a little bit. We talk about having fun. Like, let's have fun with it. This should be exciting. I mean, what do we work so hard for? What are we work on this monetary system, this debt slave capitalistic society? Why are we working so hard for what? It's to have fun, to be healthy, to enjoy, to make love, to eat the best foods, to sit by the fire, to enjoy your favorite movie, whatever the hell it is, go to the best concerts. That's really what it is. Well, if that's the case, don't we want to feel good? Don't we want to be in our prime, be in our best, and don't we want to help people? I think at the root of human, emotional intelligence is we want to help people. And we've got into the scarcity, like, don't look at me in public energy, and, put up bigger walls, and this whole thing, like, not only should I succeed, but you should fail too. I mean, if you look at like what's being broadcasted out there, the lying, the cheating, the swindling, the murder, all this fucking bullshit, excuse my French, that stuff is so toxic to the human mind and the human heart. It's fracturing us and disabling us. So you got to get rid of all that stuff. All that stuff's a drug. It's a dopamine hit. And that's why people are just, you can't get enough of it. People thrive on that stuff. So if you're listening to this, do you like controversy? Is controversy something that you feel like you have an addiction to? And be honest. Get honest with yourself. If you're addicted to controversy and seeing others suffer and seeing people getting messed up in some capacity, we have to do some evaluation. We have to figure out where that's coming from, because most likely you're suffering. You're in pain. You're wounded. Something happened in your childhood. Something happened with an ex relationship, whatever it is. It could be anything. We have to get to the root of that, or else you're going down this path and there's no stopping it. And that momentum, remember, goes both directions.
I want to make sure we're getting into a lot of different stuff, a lot of philosophy, a lot of deep thinking for people, which is amazing. I want to make sure people are getting to the essence of what this is and how to practically go about that. I know it can be hard because, again, we all want to have this list that we can do and things we can go through. But like for somebody who feels caught up in a very conventional way of living and thinking, and this is all very new to them, I just feel for them and wonder what they're going to be wondering. How do I begin? How do I begin to evaluate and see where I have these things that I want to tweak and play with?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned plant medicine. I'm assuming that would be one way to take a deep evaluation of one's life, but other ways people can really get in there and see where their weaknesses are.
Fundamental evaluation of self. That's it. It's not going to be, it could be an 8-week course, many lives, many masters course. It could be a weekend. It could be a, Joe Dispenza event, or whatever the hell it is. I mean, it could be anything, right? But before all that, it's evaluating the cornerstone of your desires, your wants, your needs, and the way that you numb yourself. Like, just you have a brain, you have a capacity. Evaluate your life. Evaluate your current situation. Evaluate your relationship to your parents. Evaluate your relationship to your kids. What is your purpose? What are you here for? Are you in that purpose? These are fundamental. Like, write these questions down and ask yourself that. What is catching most of your attention every single day? That's a big one. How about social media? What are you watching on social media every day? Like, let's just look at that. Find out why you're doing that and what it's doing to you. How long have you been doing that? What are you getting from it? Okay? Those are fundamentals. And everything with your food, your lifestyle, your energy levels, all of that. You got to take all that stuff into consideration, because those are the telltale signs of either you're living a life on your own dime, in your own power, or you're literally just hanging on and you're in like a suffering mode and you're doing everything you can to numb out. And if you don't get real with yourself as soon as possible, you're going down, you're in the trouble zone. There's no doubt about that. We talked about foods. We talked about hydration. We talked about earthing, grounding to the earth. We talked about the fundamentals of getting connected to Father, Son on the rise and getting sun exposure. We talked about movement. We talked about breath work. We talked about multiple philosophies of lifestyle, from ancient to, present. I think at the end of the day, you got to live in your own means and figure out if those means are capable to expanding. Do you have the guts and the glory to get out of your comfort zone? Doesn't have to be drastic. Like we said, create momentum. 1 to 2 things a week. Try doing it different and observe it and take notes and see how it makes you feel. Instead of 5 hours a week of TV, turn it to 1 hour, 2 hours. Titrate off things. You don't have to make drastic changes. The drastic changes never really works. Are you on pharmaceutical drugs? So have you been taking pharmaceutical drugs for quite some time? That's another thing. Do you take over-the-counter drugs? These chemicals are deteriorating your body. There's no doubt about that. So maybe we can try to find an alternative. Maybe this isn't your long-term plan. Are you taking a diverse strain of probiotics and prebiotics? Do you even know what those things do for you? Learn what that is. Where are you getting your protein and cholesterol from? Are you sourcing your own meat and your own eggs? Do you connect with local farmers? Are you in that reality? I don't think everyone's sitting in a 6 by 8 foot, apartment in the middle of an urban jungle. I think people are living regular lifestyles. They have access to clean water. They have access to the sun. They have access to grassy fields. Get a hike in every day. Just get out into the elements. If you're by the beach, get to the beach. It's loaded with negative ions. If you're by a forest, get out to a river, get out to the forest loaded with negative ions. These things help the body. They turn off runaway free radical damage. There's so many ways to open up a locked system that's been stuck in archaic, amnesia, hamster wheeling. Turn off the news. If the news is creating stress, turn that shit off. The whole political system is nonsensical. You're not getting anything from it. Well, what are you getting from it? If you're feeling pressured by certain family members to do something that you don't want to do, set them straight. You can't continue to be subjugated to pain and fear and ridicule. Forget that. Gotta make decisions. This is your life.
And coming back to what you said before, it's short. If people need motivation beyond the short frame that we talked about before that you can get after listening or watching something like this, think about your life as a whole and how quickly it goes by. And I know for me, that's something I come back to on a regular basis, and it motivates me in a big way, in the biggest way, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really it right there. I mean, I do feel like we're infinite beings, but we've been given an opportunity to exist here, and you know, just the fundamental of, if you're listening to this, why not treat that as that was not random? You feel me on this? So like, if someone's hearing our conversation, wait a second, maybe there's a higher purpose at play here. And if that's the case, why not go all in? Why? I feel strongly, and this is a Vedic philosophy, is that in life you get several aha moments. Okay. And those aha moments are moments of hyper synchronicity, meaning you statistically could not analyze that and come up with a form of calculus to determine the chances of that happening. And when you're in the holy flow, those aha moments come more often. It's up to you as the discerner to choose to follow those aha moments and to apply those aha moments and to catalyze and create inertia, as you said, momentum, and go full force in that. My belief system is that the majority come up on synchronicities and aha moments and shrug them off. And that right there is not allowing them to hit these levels of nitrous or catalyst and to push forward into like extreme knowing and deep levels of gnosis of life. And so this is an aha moment. I'm having an aha moment having this conversation. Just us talking about this is invigorating me. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm just a parrot here repeating or regurgitating something that I had scripted. I had no idea what we were even talking about today. Whenever I do an interview or whatever, I say, I don't want to know any questions. I don't want to know nothing, because this is raw. This is organic for me. You might have sent something to someone on our staff or something, but I have no idea or maybe you didn't. So this is a moment that I'm having right now. And this entire conversation is freaking pumping me up, let me tell you. And I have so much gratitude for being able to have this conversation, because now the rest of my day is going to be full throttle, because this communication is settling into my etheric and my bones and my nuances. All my synapses are firing right now, and I'm thinking about all the cool shit I want to do, because this conversation has lit me the fuck up. And so the same thing with anyone listening right now. Is this lighting you up? Got to make a choice.
I feel the same way. And for people out there that might not have other people, coming back to what we talked about before, having people in their life that see the world the same way, maybe for those people, this can be the catalyst, and you can connect with us in that way, not directly, but indirectly, with people that see the world the same way. And hopefully over time, you can find people in the real world and share the fun that you can see we're having, and the excitement and the inspiration that we're gleaning from one another. But what I'm getting at here is, hopefully for people that this is new to and they don't have those people in their life yet, this could be the start of it, and you can feed off of this and go find those people. Because I mean, I'm sure you would agree, this when you get into this world and you get to the level we're at, where you've been doing it for a long time, like, I have so much fun continuing to learn and continuing to find out little ways to tweak my diet and lifestyle. And I'm lucky enough, and I think you're in the same boat, where my wife is on the same page, and both of us just get into it together and share that enthusiasm, that excitement, that thirst to continue to learn. And I'm sure you can hear in our voices, both of us here, like, we're just so excited. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I just hope other people can catch on to that for themselves, and and have that natural thirst to continue to learn in this realm and upgrade their life in small ways and form that inertia and realize that this life is so special and it is so short. Get out there and make it the best one you can, because why not?
100%, brother. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's the magic. That's the love. That's when hearts are aligned. That's when the voltage is beaming. Like we're talking about mitochondria. That could be another conversation. We actually get into the deep levels of how these bodies and animated bodies work and the electrical system, and get down to the essence of who we are. That's where we vibrate, and the law of attraction is real. There's a great book called the Laws of Resonance in the DNA Field. I've gifted that book to 10,000 people at least. The author of that book should send me a residual. That's and that book is stating what we're talking about. The law of attraction is way beyond just a basic energetic thing. It's a deep frequency system that you're magnetized to similar frequencies. And examples are, I could go into a farmer's market or wherever in public, and there's certain people that I get within 5 feet of them and they can't even stand in my energy field. They are so shocked by my energy. I'm not even saying anything. I'm not even doing anything. And then there's other people that are like magnets to me and won't get out of my field. They can't leave me alone. That happens all the time. And that's a perfect example, or, to showcase that our energies have to be in alignment, and we create our own frequency, and we attract our own frequency, high vibe, high tribe. And so if you're listening to this, your tribe is there. Your tribe is there. Are you ready for them? You got to call them in, and that works with, you being in your truth, because if you're operating with false tenses, if you're operating with deceit, if you're operating with anger and frustration and manipulation, that's what you're going to attract. It's no way around it, And so, brother, it's a pleasure having this conversation.
I feel the exact same way. I'm feeling lit. I'm feeling energized, and hopefully people that are taking this in, whether it be through video or audio, are feeling the same thing, at least in a small way. And there is so much more we can get into. We've gotten very philosophical in this conversation, but I'm sure we'll do this again and again, and we can get into some of the nuances of diet and lifestyle, and because there is a place for that too. I hope in this conversation, and I don't think we did, but I hope we didn't belittle their place as well. And I'm sure we can get on another call sooner than later and hash a lot of that out as well. But thank you for coming on the show. We're going to link up Cymbiotika. We're going to link up, there's a 15% discount for anybody tuning in. And we're going to link up your social media, everything over on the website. Thank you so much for this conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah. And for everyone listening, thank you for being here. You're the master magician of your reality. Never forget that. And so I appreciate this conversation, Jesse. Look forward to the next one. We can go much deeper on specifics, but I think we laid out a lot of the groundwork and the fundamentals. I mean, we did cover a lot of the things with health and things of that, and the basics that we have to have in place. Next, we can get a little bit more granular and talk about specific details. But it's always it's an honor to see a brother that we reflect the same energy. Thank you.
I feel it too. Thank you. Now that you're done watching my conversation with Chervin, be sure and check out my chat with Nicole right here and learn how to rewire your brain.
There might be habits and patterns that aren't serving you in your life. They are no reflection of who you are. The brain, the body, everyone's ability to change continues throughout life.